Hello, and welcome to Movie of the Year, the only podcast that has the science and the screaming to unequivocally decide the single best movie of every year. I'm your guest host, Kate Dellis.
Woo!
With me are our three panelists, all of whom are true voices of their generation, which I will note is not mine. First up is Greg.
Hey, it's Greg. I am glad to be here. Thank you so much, Kate.
Happy to have you. Mike.
Yes, I'm here too, and only mildly insulted.
And Ryan.
Kay, I'm not insulted at all, and I think you're doing a wonderful job so far.
Thank you.
That's a very early review. This is like as early as you could possibly weigh in on how she's doing.
In all fairness to Kate and to Ryan's review of Kate, at this point, any host, especially a guest host, but especially a regular host, would have fucked up that intro. So she's crushing it.
Like just lost a tooth for no reason.
Hello and movies to welcome of the year. The only movies with podcast.
Okay, so as host, I'm going to have to call for order. As a reminder, each season...
Damn, Nancy Pelosi up in this.
As a reminder, each season's movies are chosen by you, our esteemed Letterboxd users. The bracket is decided without consideration of awards won, money made, or personal predilections. So if you're pissed about how this bracket turned out, you can, and I quote, blame yourself, you Letterboxd slut. Finally, this is a game show, so you boys will be playing to win. I will award you for points well made, for original contributions, and for how entertaining I find you. You three are but jesters in my court, monkeys to my organ.
I don't want to be a creep,
Yeah.
but these points mean way more to me than they usually do for some reason. There's something about the dulcet tones saying the rules that I'm just like, all right, I gotta fucking win.
Trust me, I walked into this and I know exactly the dynamic.
And even though you just insulted us and said you are all butt jesters, an insult I don't even understand. What is a butt jester? Don't forget compliments too. Like if somebody says you're doing a really good job so far, that's a point. You could just give
Oh
a
my God, that's so true. Ryan, that's why you did it. So I'm going to give that one to Greg and to Mike.
Son of a bitch!
Yes,
There
she
you go.
is a
There
pop
you
filter
go.
host.
Very good.
So
Very good.
we'll dive into Mank in a sec, but overall, what do you guys think? Let's start with your obsequious little asshole, Ryan.
This movie has had its ups and downs throughout this like weird fucking non-award season. I think that it's flawed, but overall, I'm really trying to say that it's a good movie because it's flawed but good, and not it's a good movie because it's about everything that I love, and I just love it, and I want to hug it and squeeze it and take it to bed with me.
Mike, how you feeling?
Yeah, I think Ryan put it well because he wants to be like, it's Hollywood and it's old, so I love it. I thought he and I would be more headbutting because there were parts that were fucking great in Mank, and there were other parts that I could only describe as Mankish. It really felt like at certain times Fincher wanted to be Welles and Mank, and it showed that, well, they did nonlinear, so I'll do nonlinear and be just as good.
With the big thumb
Buster.
right back to him, and I'll do it too.
And you're no Welles, Finch.
I think that's maybe a little harsh. I think it like more than just hearkening to Citizen Kane as a movie. I think it made it more interesting to watch his journey from two different start points. And as he says, like about Citizen Kane, like how do you capture a man's whole life in 2 hours? And I feel like it did a good job of that. It was entertaining. Mm-hmm. I was definitely entertained. I wasn't always comfortable with the way I was being entertained, but the dialogue was snappy. It was fun, having conversations as the centerpiece to a lot of scenes, and it was beautifully shot. I thought the black and white was utilized really effectively, but at the end of the day, I felt like just a little uncomfortable with it. I don't know. It felt like a movie for dads or something, and can't we just celebrate sort of an uncomplicated view of intersex relations? Like it just.
But I think that's the weird word, is celebrate. I think that's like what this show could basically boil down to, is like what are we celebrating, and what are we making fun of, and what are we cracking open, and what are we revealing? Because you can watch this movie and think it's all celebration or zero or somewhere in between.
When we come back, we'll dive into the movie. This episode, we're going to discuss David Fincher's Mank. 1930s Hollywood is reevaluated through the eyes of scathing wit Herman J. Mankiewicz as he races to finish what may be the greatest film of all time, Citizen Kane. Taste buds, I ask you this. Shot in black and white, and even featuring cigarette burns, Mank is made like an old-ass movie. Shtick or substance? We're going to start with you, Mike.
Fuck you, Ryan, for thinking you're going to talk at first.
Oh, no, I just came a little. So, sorry, I wasn't going to speak.
Just those cigarette burns on the celluloid
Cigarette
does it
burns.
for you. I think I like the gimmick. I can only compare it to another movie everybody went gaga over a few years back. I thought was pure gimmick was The Artist. I was like, I get it. You've seen fucking old movies, you hack. This, though, he does seem to inject it and really appreciate what was great about old films, not just, I can do it too. And like, I've always known Fincher's a great director, and I'm the first person who said that. But in my head, he's a great director who does one trick real well. And Mank made me shut the fuck up.
What's that one trick, Mike?
Juggling.
It's the way he juggles while saying cut in action is phenomenal. Blades, bowling pins, flaming torches. I think he's very good at character work, and like he dives into your Tyler Durdens to your Holden McMindhunters.
Because I was going to say if he's like a one trick guy, I would think it's that he does these really weird camera moves where he like sends the camera through a wall or he sends the camera through a trash can. And I feel like that comes right from Citizen Kane, which is like moving that camera like a nut, like nobody had ever done before.
Instead of doing that, like we don't see the wiring in a house here. He does the old school fade that isn't just fade to black. Everything's black except the lights, and then those also turn off like somebody's leaving the room.
But see, this is a complicated question, I think, because
should we pick an easier one?
Yeah, actually.
Man, good or bad?
Goodish.
He does a lot of these effects that I think are like the cigarette burns are obvious. Like anybody watching
He taught
this,
us what those are.
Yeah,
we only know what those
that.
are because of Davy Finch.
and he uses a lot of deep focus. You know, it's in black and white, obviously, so that all feels like an old movie. Black and white is very. You didn't notice that, Greg? You got to turn your color down on your TV.
I'm sorry. I see gray in the dark.
But he also isn't like super
Point to Greg.
dedicated to it. Like it's a widescreen movie, even though that was not a thing back then. You know, he uses all the tools. He uses CGI whenever he wants. So it feels gimmicky, but I wonder if that's sort of part of it too. David Fincher has me in this weird place where I sort of just give him all these benefits of the doubt and will argue for him instead of like think about anything. And I think that maybe just doing this half-assedly like he did is not a cheat, but actually more commentary.
Yeah, I don't think it's half-assedly. I think he's using all the tools and styles of the ancient times with all the technology and things we've learned now. Because at first it was like, okay, this is super old. There's those old credits. But we didn't sit through the credits for 17 and a half straight minutes like we would have in an old movie that came out in the era. He still started the movie.
But it was long enough to evoke that feeling.
He did long enough, and then it was like, but we're going to start the fucking movie.
I think Fincher, if he is anything, he's intentional. You can see that within any number of scenes. I mean, in Seven, there's a couple of scenes where there's like very clearly 15 setups, changing the angle of the camera minutely to represent relational shifts and different dynamics. So in no world could I imagine that he's being sloppy, especially if he's doing an homage to Citizen Kane. So it's very intentional. I think the question is, does it work?
See, he might be the least unintentional, right? I mean, he might make PTA go like, damn, man, chill back on all of your planning and shit. But I think the thing that Mank proves is that, and we did a show about Fight Club. You know, I think that we could do this with a lot of Fincher movies, is that he is an incredible visual filmmaker and like a good philosopher. Like he's pretty good at sort of getting his point across as far as like what he thinks about humanity. And
remember how we said Fight Club was basically alt-right club? And now that seems more the case than ever.
Look how fucking right we were.
But it's like the whole discussion is about Fincher's intentionality. Like, who did he want you to think is cool? Or better yet, if you think these people are cool, what does that say about you? I think it means you suck. You know, I think that you mean, I think that if you think that Mank is cool or the Zodiac Killer is cool, what the fuck, dude? That's
no, he is cool. He's Drew Carey's older brother. He's the coolest.
He tried really hard, and he was able to accomplish a lot.
And that's when I think shit falls apart. Is that we're supposed to think these things about Mank, but even Fincher falls in love with his characters a little bit, even when he's saying don't.
Am I crazy for feeling like the sound in this movie was meant to be sort of echoey, as if you were listening to it? And so what I think is interesting is he wasn't just going for like old time movie feeling. He was going for sitting in a theater. Yeah, that's where the cigarette burns come from, right? And that's where the echoey comes from, watching a movie, which, interestingly enough, in 2020, just replicating the experience of watching a movie in the theater,
something we want so bad.
Yeah, like that. That's a pretty cool idea.
Yeah.
It was a nice thing in that way.
My wife sat in front of me and was on her phone the whole time, and then punched me in the throat when I said, "Can you please get off your phone?" So it really captured what it's like to go to the movies.
Wasn't it cool, Mike? Hour 1 through hour 2, like the whole second hour of the movie, she just slowly opened a pack of licorice the entire time.
And went, "Oh, I'm sorry, is this loud?" While somehow stomping glass.
Did you guys have the viewing experience where just for the last 35 minutes, somebody came in that you didn't know and sat down and watched the end of it?
Even though there's so many empty seats in my apartment.
So are you waiting for the next showing? Or?
This is very clearly, to me, a director who's obsessed with the history of Hollywood, as many great Hollywood filmmakers are. And so he's recreating a lot. He's trying to get you inside of a certain headspace. How does this reflect the story that we're following? How does this reflect Mank, do you guys think?
I think it's the perfect time to glamorize on the surface and make seem filthy underneath if you pay attention, which I think is his bag, like these typically these white dudes who you think are cool are not. They're actually awful. They're actually the reason for everything being awful because they won't stop being white dudes. And it's not something that you get from Fincher's movies until you watch them again or turn 19, like.
Yeah, I think either he's become a more subtle filmmaker in 20 years since Fight Club, or I don't know.
None of this seems subtle. Like I don't think you can put any of this in the category of subtle.
And so with Tyler Durden, you could watch Fincher fall in love with him and lose his point. And with Mank, I think it's more subtle because you watch, for the most part, until the very, very end. All the characters who start yelling at Mank, by the end of it, they're like, "God damn it, Mank, you old so-and-so."
You've done it again.
Until he is the coolest guy I've ever seen at a party, to the point that people are walking out while he pukes on them. But it really feels like, cool. Like even like Lily Alexander, I'm mixing her names, Lily Collins, who plays Ms. Alexander, she starts off fuck Mank, which is the right attitude. And by the end, she's like, nope, he's great. And so that, it almost feels like in the past Mank sucked, but by the end, shouldn't we be on his side? It does, I think, gets a little garbled.
That is sort of why this got chosen, I think, is because I don't know if David Fincher wanted to make the new Citizen Kane, but instead was equating himself and Mank to Charles Foster Kane and the newspaper guy, Hearst, and then also Orson Welles, in that, we think Mank and David Fincher and Orson Welles think that they're the good guys because they're bringing down these titans, but really all they're doing is just fucking showing their whole ass every time they try to do anything. They're like, I don't know, their inability to just do something in a normal way doesn't take down any patriarchy. It doesn't actually do anything except for keep their ego at a level where they can go and fucking kill themselves. And the fact that it happened to Orson Welles, the person who thought he was doing it to Hearst, is, I think, mind-boggling to Fincher. And Fincher I think Fincher's trying to get out ahead of it and either say, if I make Mank, that's not going to happen to me, or if I make Mank, then I already declared it. So you guys can't get mad at me when I fucking show my whole ass because I made Mank, and that proves what I know what I'm doing.
I wonder, and I don't know enough about the Fincher family tree, but like, because Daddy Finch wrote this, that it feels like it might be a little Oedipal of like,
that's a whole
Jack
thing,
Fincher is Hearst. I'm the one revealing how insane he was.
I think his dad's name was Finch.
Fincher.
Yeah.
I feel like the movie kind of went out of its way not to remake Citizen Kane. Like, I feel like he could have like pointed a lot more towards actually like remaking that movie. I feel like it's in conversation with it, obviously because it's about it. But I kind of feel like if anybody said, "Did you just try to make your Citizen Kane?" He'd be like, "No, that's not what I was doing there."
I guess, and I don't know if this is in conversation with or is trying to remake it, but the three things that stick out is how often Kane is in bed versus how often Mank is in bed. Towards the very end, they break the fucking fourth wall when Orson Welles freaks out and starts throwing glass, and Mank's like, "That's what we need at the end of Citizen Kane," and types it up. And at the end,
he looks at the camera and winks, and then Ryan Reynolds comes in and does the same thing. Yeah,
and
that
then
was
they
weird.
just sled away on rosebuds.
And there has to be something to the fact that Kane is Mank backwards. Right? I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I think that's canonical.
I've never noticed that.
Yeah, notice that.
Okay, I must shut you guys up.
No.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we're back, it's Rushmore.
Mount Rushmore!
Welcome back. It's now time for one of my favorite segments, Rushmore. I assume we all know the conceit. This week's Rushmore is dedicated to the top bedridden characters of all time.
Kate, are you sure you don't want to, before you dive in, give a fake history of the mountain forever and really just eat up a bunch of showtime? You're just going to dive into the actual show?
He's making fun of us and not you, Kate.
Yeah, just so you know.
Specifically making fun of me, world-renowned for my wonderfully improvised histories of Mount Rushmore.
Sometimes Greg will tell a story when he's hosting about how 4 alien-planted seeds grew and busted into a mountain, and we can see their faces to this day. And Mike will be like, "Bullshit, this sucks. Fuck
Just
Greg."
like the truth.
That hardly rhymed.
I love a classics reel of old white guys. That's why we're here.
Oh, fuck. That hurt.
I'm sure it did.
She manked us. She manked us real hard.
You got manked.
So let's go. Greg, give me your best bedridden character.
Okay. Well, there is.
Should we though, like, real quick? Should we talk about like how much bedridden does this person have to be?
Well, that's what I think. That's part of it. I think you gotta throw out your interpretation. Like they have to at least at some point be bedridden, and I think it has to be important to the story. But
It has to be, like, look, if
your
we were
case.
doing, like, Rushmore of misers and somebody said Scrooge, that counts even though at the end he stops being a miser.
Yes, that would count, I guess.
because the very next day he's a fucking miser again.
Yeah, he asked that little kid who got the goose as big as him for some change.
It's like, wait, how much was this goose? Kid, wait, come back here real quick. Damn, dude. All right, so when you think of bedridden dudes, you're probably thinking of Paul Sheldon from Misery. Paul Sheldon is a stand-in for Stephen King. Stephen King does a little trick that's kind of interesting, which is he makes his protagonists writers. Ooh,
Oh, 'cause he's a
interesting, 'cause He knows
writer.
what that's like. And Paul Sheldon's driving along, and then he breaks his legs, and he lives in a bed for a while until he gets better, and then he has his legs cut off. But he spends basically that entire movie and book, Misery, being just all up in a bed.
Which is the opposite of misery.
Yeah, seriously, that sounds so awesome right now. Did Paul Sheldon, 10 years, 20 years later, drive around in a van hunting down Stephen King for doing that to him?
Crash into him.
Well, yeah, he wouldn't be very good at driving anymore.
They did make a prequel to this called Young Sheldon, but I have not had a chance to check that out yet.
Kate, what do you think?
Is that your one and done?
That's my submission. Yeah. Now you say if it goes. Basically, what you say now is that's perfect. Let's put it up on the mountain, and then I get a point.
Or you say not good enough on the maybe pile.
I want to survey the crowd.
Okay.
And see kind of what.
You don't want to
what
get
I'm
excited
working
by the first thing you see and just give it a point.
I don't want to blow my wad, as it were.
All right.
Why hasn't she been the host for the last 3 years? This is crazy.
Everyone has their own way of doing it. Some of us blow our wad as soon as we can.
Yeah.
And some of her wives say they're more into that.
I find that some people love it.
Just get on with your day, right?
Mike, what's yours?
I think Paul Sheldon is a fine pick, but a foolish first pick. There's one obvious first pick. He is yours, he is mine, he is everybody's Grandpa Joe.
Oh, yeah.
He's bedridden for 30 fucking seconds, bro. And then he hops out of bed and dances his ass right to that chocolate factory.
This is why this is the Scrooge.
Scrooge is not a miser for 10 seconds at the end of the thing. Grandpa Joe is bedridden for the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
All 7 of Charlie Bucket's other grandparents were in bed the entire movie. Grandpa Joe is actually the least bedridden person as far as Charlie Bucket grandparents
You're
go.
going to talk about Grandma Geraldine? You want her to be on this fucking mountain? Nobody will know what you're talking about.
Rather than the guy who spends the whole time moving around is totally ambulatory. How about the other Bucket grandparents? This is bullshit.
Only 2 of their names are Bucket, and so they're not all 4 Bucket grandparents. That's not how grandparents work.
I think they're cousins, Mike, okay? That was pretty common back then in Bucket times.
I think at the time, at least, that much time in bed does count as common law marriage. So I believe they all are in kind of a quad poly moment together. And in that sense, very much all of them are Buckets.
I swear, though, if you're like 70, 75, and you're not poly, like, come on, man.
Yeah, what are you doing? Live life.
What are you waiting for? Heaven?
Yeah,
come
exactly.
on. Get on the train, idiot.
There's no fucking in heaven. That's all for the hell
Yeah,
people.
dude,
You
that's
should
why
probably
we
do
do
it
it
right
here.
now.
Hey, Grandpa Joe, YOLO.
That's why he drank that fizzy drink and made him fly.
That's pretty YOLO. He almost died.
All right, is Grandpa Cholo on the mountain, or are you still perusing?
I think that Greg's answer was elementary and half-baked, and I think that I had a lot of fun, and it was quite playful of you to choose such a wholesome, bedridden character. So I'm gonna go ahead and give Mike a point.
Yes.
Ryan,
Yeah.
do you have an answer for me?
Well, I mean, the obvious one is Paul Sheldon, but I guess I'll say something different.
It was half-baked, Ryan. That's what I heard.
Jim Brewer.
Jim Brewer from Half Baked, always on the bed.
Because he's so stoned.
I'm going to go with somebody who is barely a character in the movie, but means so much to other characters that mean so much to me. And that's Beth March. Get the fuck out of bed, Beth, and be a fucking little woman. All right?
Not a little girl stuck in bed.
Stop rubbing sick babies all over your face to the point where you have to be in bed for the entire movie till
Now,
you die.
I don't know, Ryan. She hung out at the beach a lot.
She's not
Does
bedridden.
she count as
I mean,
bedridden?
she's not bedridden. She had scarlet fever. She's not bedridden.
I had scarlet fever. I'm fucking fine.
Scarlet fever is a fucking conspiracy brought to you by the government.
I had it twice.
I will say I think that it qualifies because her being trapped at home in bed is fundamental to not only her character, but is a foil to the other women's journeys. So I think it's actually essential. And I think that's a great choice, Ryan.
Thank you. Also, Greg, you know why she's bedridden? Is because I just defended Paul Sheldon. Get your head out of your ass.
All right. Crap. Okay, so it's back to me, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Since we're allowed to just pick sick kids, we wouldn't even have the movie Princess Bride if it weren't for a young, sick, Greg-style Fred Savage, right?
Yeah,
who
perfect.
is posted up in bed, totally sick. Grandpa's got to come over and read the Princess Bride, a book I've read, which is really weird and fucked up, but it's still, I guess you could read to your grandson if you want to. So Fred Savage, or whatever his character's name is in Princess Bride.
Ben.
Ben
Ben
Savage.
Boy Meets World.
Is Fred Savage on the mountain?
Fred Savage is on the mountain.
Shit,
That was the
that's a
one that
good one.
he was my ringer.
That's correct. I forgot about him.
Yeah, that's a good one. You, Mike.
Here's where I thought Ryan was going. Here's a character who is important to the movie, but not a huge part of the movie. A lot of the characters I love him, or fucking hate him. Actually, it's Earl Partridge from Magnolia. It's the rich, dead Tom Cruise.
Jason
dad.
Robards.
Yes.
Yes, I agree. That he was on my list as well. So, Mike, you're going to get that one.
Well,
too.
Kate, you only have one spot left. So
I'm sorry. Am I, again, blowing my wad?
No, hey, you're the host. Blow that wad wherever you want, honey.
Yeah, Ryan, I think you kind of actually gave me kind of the right to do whatever the fuck I want. So, why don't you shut up and get on with it?
wait, did you tell me to shut up and then talk?
Yeah, precisely.
Just shut up and say something, idiot.
I feel like that this will be my last one because Mike already made it. But I'm going to say what I thought Mike was going to say, which is what he thought I was going to say initially, which is doesn't have a lot of dialogue, but integral to the movie. And that is Sandy Cohen from the Sandra Bullock movie, While You Were Sleeping. Motherfucker is in a bed for 2 hours straight and the whole movie revolves around him. And then he wakes up, and those eyebrows start going up and down, and he's like, what am I, Sandy Cohen? And like, what? No, you were in a coma. That was all a dream, bud.
I get it. If I was Sandy and I met Bill Pullman and Sandy Cohen, I would try to three-way those brothers so hard.
Oh, my God. It would be really hard. That's really good. I feel... Do I get to come back if I like it? It's I can put Okay, so then because I want to hear... Everyone has 4, correct?
I have a couple more.
Okay, then let's do this. Let's pop through some.
One I have is all the really cool humans from WALL-E. Remember how near the end of the movie you find like these really dope humans who like have really cool sodas and.
Only because you said they're cool, so I feel okay saying this. You said Fred Savage represented you in pop culture, Greg. I think you found somebody else.
Ouch.
And it's Eve. You're sleek and sexy.
Mike, for being kind.
Thank you, Mike. That means a lot to me. But yeah, those dope WALL-E people, they're living the life. You know, they all have cool screens. Their chairs sort of take them everywhere.
All these other characters are bedridden because of like amputation or illness. All these characters, like, no, look at that bed. I want to be in that forever. Yeah.
What's the point?
It's a lifestyle choice. Mike, you go.
I'm going to go old school. He was probably the shittiest character, but he did control the bed everybody floated around on. Paul Rawlings from Bed Knobs and Broomsticks had the magical knob that would fly the bed from bed to bed. And so he controlled that bed that they all were ridden in throughout the film.
I love watching this passionate Atticus Fincher like argument.
I think we can all agree that if you have ridden somewhere in a bed, right? I'm no big city lawyer.
He was in the bed 87% of that film.
Ryan.
I guess I will wrap this up with Almasy, who is Ray Fiennes from The English Patient, who alternates in the movie with like action hero desert heroics, and then just being in a bed, being like, water! Oh God, water!
Because he was in the desert.
He was in the desert and he wants that fucking water.
I'm gonna disqualify that one because of the fact that he's so spooky.
Okay, typically we just say maybe pile and forget about it.
That's just Ray Fiennes'
No, I think
face.
I'm gonna shut that one down. He's too scary to think about. We're gonna put that one away. Greg, you got a couple more?
Going in the Ray Fiennes box. I have one more.
Okay.
When the Simpsons occasionally cast their eyes forward, what will the Simpsons of the future look like? And one of them, Bart, actually gets so big that he becomes bedridden from being 800 pounds. And his catchphrase is, I wash myself with a rag on a stick. And
his catchphrase, his most commonly used sentence.
Numerous times.
Listeners, I kid you not. I think about this every single day.
Because that's the life.
I wash myself with a rag on a stick. And honestly, he looks exactly like Orson Welles when he says it.
Mike, how dare you compare me to a human character from WALL-E? All I want to do is wash myself with a rag on a stick.
Greg, I'm going to give you a point for because you made me chuckle. I'm not putting that on the mountain, though. Do we have any more submissions?
Yeah, there's if you were like me, growing up, you were poor and only did not have cable, so you rented The Secret Garden a lot.
Yes.
That sick asthmatic kid.
Yeah.
Who's
Victorian.
to be so pale and so coffee, but so shitty to everybody around you. You deserve to stay in bed your whole fucking life.
These are very good options. Yes, I have appreciated every single one of these submissions. You guys did a really good job. I'm going to give the last spot to Sandy Cohen of While You Were Sleeping because I loved that movie.
Your Rushmore of bedridden characters is Grandpa Joe from Willy Wonka. Bullshit. Barely bedridden.
You're barely bedridden.
Beth March, who Greg says is barely bedridden. Fred Savage from the hit show The Oneater Years. And Sandy Cohen from While You Were Sleeping.
Oh, what a proud mountain we made. Actually, real quick question, is Fred Savage going to be tinier than the other three heads?
Yeah, because he's young.
Because he's so little.
It'll be little
And
Fred Savage.
They're all reading to him.
I know you think you remember how young Fred Savage is in this movie. You don't. He is just a little baby. He's basically standing in a crib the entire time.
He actually hasn't grown legs yet.
How do you think babies develop, Kate?
He's scuttling about.
On his claws.
He's the size of a field mouse.
Savage.
He's very fast.
Horrifying.
Okay, and with that, I think we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back for our next taste bud. Welcome back. We're going to launch into our second taste bud. Guys, Fincher takes an unexpected turn halfway through the movie, diving headfirst into a political battle that doesn't involve Orson Welles. How well does this plotline gel with the rest of the movie? Ryan, let's start with you.
I think that the first thing that you sort of got to say before you get into Mank is watching it again is awesome, because then you realize that it's not about what everybody said it was, and it has very little to do with Orson Welles or the making of Citizen Kane.
Yeah, really in there.
And then when you watch it the second time, you're like, okay, so this is about Mank, which the title promised, and this political thing is not as much of a distraction as it feels when you think that you're watching a movie about the making of the greatest movie of all time.
If think of this like a normal biopic, this is his We Will Rock You, right? Like, this is a shift in the movie, and really lets you know this isn't about this dude you've not heard of making Citizen Kane. These are the important moments of Mank's life, and this is what leads to his downfall, because for so much of the movie, you're like, everybody loves this guy. Why is he on the outs? Because in the flashbacks, he's still this drunken asshole. So they knew. And it's like,
the way that's withheld is very clever.
Those are his flashbacks, by the way, which is very hard to do if you're an alcoholic.
That's his version of remembering.
But yeah, his version, he is still a fucking drunken maniac.
Well, that big reveal of like the reason he's kept around is because Hearst likes the way that he pops off, and that he's
a butt jester.
Yeah, and that he's really just ultimately a butt jester. And I feel like even though the politics for Mank find a way to take a back seat, because really what it's about his like complicity by accidentally contributing such a great idea, when he just says off the cuff, like, hey, you have everything here, you have this whole studio here that you can use to bamboozle people, why don't you just do that? And that off the cuff remark informs everything that happens, including his friend killing himself. And so I think that what precipitates that is politics, and what is like the background or the reason for that is politics. But I think this is really about it's still, the politics takes a back seat to this sort of like personal struggle, which is he feels really bad that he is the one that came up with the really good idea to create propaganda that, destroyed Upton Sinclair.
It doesn't pay to pop off, Ryan.
Okay. I feel like you could have just left names off.
That's very pointed.
There's the type of person who, when playing Trivial Pursuit, even though the question isn't for their team, they have to prove that they know the answer and shout it out and give the point to the team that they're not on. And ultimately, that's sort of who Mank is. Yeah. He can't shut the fuck up. Like, he knows that this is what he would do. He knows it's clever, and he has to share it, even though it will wreak tons of damage. And like, he's like, well, I didn't see that coming. Bullshit, dude. Yeah. This is your entire life is popping off. I guess like Ryan only would.
Well, because that's the foreshadowing event, right? Like what seems to foreshadow that most strongly is him being like, your husband's going to die out there on that aircraft carrier. And then being like, ooh, was that bad to say that like probably her husband's going to die?
Yeah.
And it's funny that it's the foreshadowing event because it's foreshadowing for us. But
post-shadowing.
It just shows he does not learn, even though one of his closest friends has shot himself because of things he's done.
And there's smaller examples of like what he does too. Like, not only does he light all the fires, but he also finds himself, like I think Orson Welles, in being heroically putting out the fires and not. And you can see it in the face when he hands the bald guy's wife the bag of bullets or the napkin of bullets.
Faye, not Eve. Act like you watched Eve. It, asshole.
Eve was the last wife. Okay, Faye, not Eve, is I think the chant that we're supposed to shout.
It's Adam and Faye, not Adam and Eve.
He brought a box of bullets with him to the office. That's not what Mank cared about.
America.
I know, seriously. Okay, I got my banana, my apple, my box of bullets.
My box of bullets.
But for Mank, it's all about that smirk of handing Faye the napkin of bullets, saying like, I fucking fixed it because I'm fucking Mank.
I manked it.
I manked it up, bitch.
Yeah, the idea of leaving a person with a fatal disease who has just expressed extreme suicidal thought,
Uh-huh.
him offering you bullets and being like, yeah, he can keep the gun, is insanity. What else is insanity is the wife being like, he has a box of bullets, being aware of the fact that he brought a box of bullets
Right.
somewhere.
I checked our box of bullet inventory, and he took one.
As he was at the door, he grabbed his water bottle, he grabbed his coffee thermos, he grabbed his wallet, he grabbed his watch, he grabbed his gun, and his box of bullets.
And wait a minute, there's only 99 boxes of bullets here. That means he has one.
They're not boxes of bullets on the wall.
On the wall.
99 boxes of bullets. And Greg claims that this movie is unsubtle, like maybe Fincher is unsubtle, but where it just cuts right to the window of the
Yeah.
guy and we see
Bang!
the gun
No,
blast.
that was
The only thing that we
old school.
could have made that more Fincher is we followed the bullet from inside the gun into the guy's head.
And the guy looked
Yeah.
the sexiest you've ever seen him look, and then it shoots him in the face.
Yeah, we like watch the hammer come down in slow motion. The gases expand to fill the chamber. The bullet slowly.
The pixies run into the room and start jamming.
Mr. Bullet, you met me at a very weird time in my life. What are we talking about, Mank?
We're talking about
Oh,
Mank.
but you know, it is interesting the way the discussion of like what is socialism versus what is communism. Like that was very it seemed very topical.
As some things change, nothing ever fucking changes.
I mean, yeah, I think it's interesting to what did his dad Fincher put into the script, and what did David put into the script to be even more topical?
When did Fincher write this?
In the 90s. So was Fincher looking at Bush 1 or Clinton
Oh, man.
1?
Greg, if it's good, it happened in the 90s.
I could just see him sitting on his couch watching In Living Color, writing this script.
Well,
Do
the
what
more
you
I think about, like, because it feels so topical, right? It feels like he had to have moved things around to make this fit this time. But I've been reading a book, push my glasses up,
Oh, come on, man.
about just like
Point
the
to Mike.
500 years of America. Nothing changes
Yeah.
ever. Every 30 years we go through the same cycle. So
The
I
most
think
important scene, as far as this goes, is not the, Upton Sinclair, played by, did we talk about that?
it's Bill Nye.
That's
the
just Bill
science
Nye, dog.
Nye in the background.
From Almost Live.
But it's the scene at a party when they're taking a break from drinking and they're all sitting around and drinking and talking about how like the Nazis are not that big of a deal, and the rich people are saying the Nazis aren't that big of a deal because they're more worried about losing money and having a little bit of socialism than they are 6 million people
and
dying.
making fun of his little mustache or his orange skin or
Right.
how his wig doesn't fit. Yeah, it
That's
was
the part we should-
crazy.
yeah.
I think Mank's crunchiness, where he knows he's ruffling feathers, is essential because it feels like at the center of this screenplay is the like eternal and internal struggle of Hollywood, which is this assumed and ubiquitous liberal culture that we associate with an artist and stuff like that, and just the unbridled capitalism beating at
Yeah.
the heart of the industry. And so the difference between the performance and the authenticity and what is that line, that blurred line between reality and movies that is manifested in those shorts, those reels that he
Well,
makes.
look at Mayer saying like,
Right.
"You are my family," and he standing on a stage and lit by his very own lights. He performs like, "We're all a family, and I love you," and he cries for like one of 50 freaking times in the movie. This guy's go-to move is the fake cry, and all of
Have you
that
tried
is
it?
just absolute theater and
Crying.
It works.
It's whatever you
Yeah.
want.
Do it now. But like that, it's so cult like, and it's so there's good people on both sides, and it's so I love you. Stop pillaging the Capitol building, but I still
You're
love
very
you.
special.
When Mayor Fake cries, the
weren't so
people who
awful.
all stand up and are like, "Yes, I'll also give up half my salary." It's Shirley fucking Temple. I
Shirley
assume that's who that
fucking
curly
Temple,
little mop
the
is.
reason for
It's-
all of this shit.
Oh, this little cunt. It's Shirley fucking Temple. It's all these Richie Riches are like, "Yeah, I'll give up half my salary." And then the Grips and the Best Boys are like, "I guess I'll clap too, even though
Yeah.
I live on a half an apple a
Yeah.
day."
But yes, who is the people who keep these people in power? It's the poor people hoping that they will one day be rich and saying, "Yeah, do whatever you want to me. I will give up half my salary just because you said we're family and that you will take care of me and you'll let me continue to be racist."
And that's the thing; it will always be we're family when we have to share the
Right.
burdens. And then, but then later they're talking about it, and they're like, "Are you gonna like restore those people's salaries?" And he's like, "Just give me a break, man. I don't want to talk about this right now. It's not convenient for me. It's like it only works in those moments. Otherwise, we're not fucking family. Get the hell out of here. Like as soon as there's a downturn, it's like, well, now I'm going to let half of you go because I don't give a shit.
There's only one place you're actually family. It's goddamn Olive Garden.
Olive Garden.
Yeah.
Why were they not buying steak in Olive Garden at this point? That would have been a
You
fucking.
can't get a
they
steak
sell
at Olive
pasta,
Garden, Ryan.
idiot.
It's pasta. Oh, Mike.
Greg and Mike are friends forever.
boom, 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 boom.
Kate, can you shut this down, please? They're gonna dance for 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're going to shut this one down. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back soon.
Trivia.
Welcome back. Are you guys ready for some trivia?
I'm
Ryan.
always ready for
Fucking
some
ready.
trivia.
Excellent. Ryan,
up.
yes. You buzzed in?
I'm ready.
Excellent. I'm going to give you a point for that one.
God damn it.
Damn it.
For being smarter than the others.
Seems unfair.
Okie dokie. Let's start with the softball. Who wrote Mank's screenplay?
Mike.
Ryan.
Mike.
Jack Fincher, or as we've been calling him on the show, Fincher.
Excellent. One of the big set pieces
Well, also
in
Mank
Mank.
wrote Mank screenplay. That's the screenplay he wrote in the movie. But that's fine.
Herman J. Mankiewicz shows up to Hearst Castle unannounced and crashes a dinner party being thrown by media giant William Randolph Hearst. Do we like this scene?
Ryan.
Mike.
Ryan.
I absolutely do, and I think we should be very forgiving of how Mank is in this scene.
Excellent. The now famous moment in which Mank vomits all over Hearst's dinner guests has triggered what cultural response?
Mike.
Mike.
Vomiting.
Close.
Ryan.
Ryan.
Fear of vomiting.
Close.
Greg.
Greg.
Looking away from the screen while watching Mank.
No, the answer is my bulimia. At the height of his empire, how much was the real William Randolph Hearst worth?
Ryan.
Greg.
Ryan.
$7 million.
No.
Greg.
Greg.
$500 million.
No.
Mike.
Mike.
$1 billion.
$3.11 billion, which is an equivalent to 30.6 today.
Dang.
Isn't that fucking crazy?
That they didn't even know how to count that far back then.
What a bezo bozo.
Honestly, he must have been so happy to have all that money.
There's castle rules. I've been there.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah,
it.
dude. He got like giraffes
sounds
and
fun.
stuff.
I know. Okay. What was Marion Davies'
If you got
last...
fucking giraffe money, then you are set. You're okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Kate.
No, it's okay. That was important to say.
Yeah, you have to say that. You had to get that out, big guy.
Let it out. What was Marion Davies' last film with MGM?
Ryan.
Ryan.
The Wizard of Oz.
No.
Mike.
Mike.
Mank.
No.
Greg.
Greg.
Mank.
No, I just said that, Greg.
I know.
Ever since Eve,
The only
released
movie
in
I could think of.
1937. Okay, the film is the third collaboration between David Fincher and the streaming service Netflix. What are the other two?
Greg.
Greg.
Mindhunter.
Mm-hmm.
And also
Ryan.
Ryan.
Ryan, the Ryan Haley story. Mike.
I don't know what to do with that. That's
Ryan.
an incomplete
you
answer.
can give
Mike.
half answers. Love, Death, and Robots?
No. Okay.
Ryan.
Ryan.
There's actually three. In Love, Death, and Robots, Mindhunter, and House of Cards.
Yes, good job, Ryan. Gary Oldman is the 8th Oscar winner to play an Oscar winner in a movie. Name 3 others.
What the fuck?
Wait, who is the eighth one?
Gary Oldman
Gary
is the
Oldman is
8th Oscar winner to play an Oscar winner in a movie.
Okay.
So what we're thinking about is actors on actors. Who-
Ryan.
Who've done yes.
Kate Blanchett played
Yes.
Katharine Hepburn.
Yep.
So you want 2 more?
I want 2 more.
Okay.
Kate Blanchett played Bob Dylan.
Kate Blanchett
Yes.
played Bob Dylan.
And Kate Blanchett played Orlando.
Kate Blanchett
The City?
played Hella.
Are we done?
Yeah.
Do we have no
I think we're just
Okay.
Wait, there's 8 of them?
Yeah, there are 8 of them.
Okay.
There's some good ones in here. I figured you guys would, as movie buffs, be more prepared for this one.
Oh, yeah, you would think that we would be movie buffs, but actually, I don't know anything about movies.
I've never seen a film.
So far, I've seen Mank. I'm hoping to build up my portfolio from here.
As a movie, Greg, did it live up to what movies are supposed to be?
You know what? It actually is pretty cool. I felt like
Ben Affleck played George Reeves in that Making the Superman movie. I'm sorry, Greg.
Yes. Those Superman serials won so many Oscars, Mike.
Yeah.
Way to fucking go. You're dumber than Greg.
Okay. Mayer was a film producer and executive, also known as the blank of Hollywood.
Ryan.
Yes.
I hope it doesn't start with a J. So I'm going to say the Bulldog.
No.
Mike.
Mike.
Mayor.
No.
Greg,
Greg.
the Penguin,
No.
The Riddler.
Mike.
The lion.
The lion.
That makes a lot of sense.
What was Louis B. Mayer doing when he told his company they would get all their money back?
Ryan.
Yeah.
Lion.
Well done.
Nice.
That's good.
Citizen Kane is famous for its mise en scène, which is French for...
Mike.
Mayonnaise
on the screen.
No.
Ryan.
Mayonnaise
on the table.
No.
Greg.
Appreciate you, Ryan.
Window of entertainment.
No. Mise en scène is French for me so horny. What should you do when me so horny? Ryan.
Pull up pictures of Louis B. Mayer.
No.
Mike. Ride a horse?
No.
Greg.
Fucking cowboy.
Wait, I got one. Greg.
Eat
graham crackers.
No. When you so horny, you should make it. What is the name of William Randolph Hearst's palatial estate?
Ryan.
Greg.
Ryan.
Not Xanadu.
Mike. The Hearst Castle.
No.
We said, what?
I mean, it is, but no.
Not how trivia works, Mike.
Greg. Hurts, don't it?
No. San Simeon. What is your dick like after you make it?
Ryan.
Yeah.
Sans erection.
San Semen.
Greg. Oh, no, you... I knew what it was.
I'll give it to you. I believe you, Greg. Okay, we're gonna take a quick break, and we'll be back for the taste bud. Welcome back. We're gonna launch into our third taste bud. Fincher often has complicated relationships with his leading males. What do we make of the Mank character, and what do we think Fincher makes of him and the way he relates to women?
You say Mank? Mank of the main character?
What do we make of this, Mank? I felt like what we were in for, or what he set out to do, was show this guy warts and all. And then I feel like halfway through it, he was so charmed by the character that he had a really hard time holding his feet to the flames. It reminds me.
I think it's a Finchian thing.
That's the David Fincher story for sure.
I remember I read Anna Karenina by Tolstoy, and Tolstoy's whole point was to just make this character and just beat the shit out of her. And he really struggled to do it because he sympathized with her so much. That's what feels like is going on with this. He just fucking loves Mank, and so he makes the whole world really go out of its way to apologize for Mank's behavior.
I think the big question is...
Greg a point for referencing a literary heroine.
Hell yeah.
I also read, recently I was just reading Infinite Jest for my 7th time, read it in one day, and I was thinking about
take a point away from that one.
Yeah, why would you pick Infinite Jest? What a bad choice. You could have said anything.
I wonder if... Okay, so I'll say this. You guys tell me if I'm wrong. That
You're wrong.
Tuppence Middleton?
Yes. Awesome name.
British
Fuck.
name.
Tuppence Middleton forever.
That's poor Sue, right?
Are you from India? Tuppence Middleton, where could you possibly be from? And
who would name their daughter Tuppence?
Well, with the
That's
last name Middleton,
name, right?
Yeah.
and Lily Collins, I think do a good job. Are they just not as dynamic as Amanda Seyfried as actresses, or were those parts very underwritten? Whereas Marianne Davies was like, that's a fucking part.
Yes, because one, Amanda Seyfried is the most underrated actor in our generation.
She has ESPN, Mike.
God damn, can she act? But I do think poor Sue and Lily Alexander,
Watch the movie.
Runaway Sue and Lily Alexander, I think, are underwritten because they both are fascinating characters who we just don't get, especially poor Sarah. We don't spend enough time with for how important she should be to Mank's life.
I think with Amanda Seyfried's character, it's Mank. I am dazed by you. You know, I think that you are somehow attractive, even though you're just yet another 65-year-old playing a 45-year-old white, straight, awful, incompetent dude. But I also have my own shit. I also have my own life that I need to live, where I have to worry about my exits and my comedy, and like Marianne Davies has her own life, whereas Tuppence Middleton and Lily Collins, they all fall into this. We're just here for you, Mank. We're just like extra. They're almost like part of his memory in that I remember this is how women treat me.
Isn't Marianne Davies the same for Hearst? She's like, you can write a script that totally makes fun of me. I don't care, but please don't do it to Daddy because that doesn't seem right. It seems like she.
It's agency though. It feels like she's making that decision instead of saying whatever the boys want, I'll fucking do.
Mm-hmm. But what is that discrepancy between poor Sarah and that, because I feel like I would never claim that poor Sarah, that character was done justice by that script, but I don't see why her loyalty to Mank is less of an autonomous choice than Amanda Seyfried's.
Because it's not backed up.
Because we get Seyfried away from Hearst, and because she has friendships we see where we only see poor Sarah as poor Sarah until the end. She gives that very, like, the most traditional hackneyed part of the movie is her yelling at him at the end of "I love you, but don't call me poor Sarah."
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, Finchy, come on, you're better than this."
She gets her right off into the sunset moment, or like her walk away slowly from the exploding car without looking.
I do
back.
have to say though, that is a deeply fucked up nickname.
Yes,
I've been telling everybody to call me since I watched this.
In the very beginning of the movie, somebody's like, "How's Sarah?" And Mank's like, "Who? I do not know who you're talking about." Oh. Poor Sarah, my wife. We all call her Poor Sarah. Her name is Poor Sarah.
Like, imagine, I don't know, if you were really good friends with or married to Ryan. I think you understand how poor Sarah feels. It's like, this is just the joke that never stops joking.
No, but it's such an excuse for his behavior. Like, he wants everybody to know.
I treat her poorly.
Yeah, by
I treat her poorly. That's the bit. I treat her like shit.
I think it genuinely, that kind of thing genuinely to me like rings of emotional abuse.
Yeah.
Yes.
And knowing Mank like I know Mank, I think that he thinks that he is up front and punk rock when he says poor Sarah about how he treats his wife, when everybody else in Hollywood treats their wife worse, but doesn't like fess up to it. He's fessing up by saying, "Hey, I gave you a nickname, Poor Sarah. It sucks to be married to me."
It's more than that, too. It's the "why do you love me?" that constant thing. That's abuse. The way he keeps saying, "Why do you love me?" Every time he says it, it's because he's doing something really bad, and he wants her to forgive him, or at least just to move past it.
Back
and so
me up,
he's
baby.
constantly like rubbing in her face, like, "Hey, guess what? You love me, dummy,
idiot."
Like, here I am, absolutely.
But it's such an intrinsic part, and it's when she the least hackneyed part of her big Ride in the Sunset scene was her. She's like, "And I don't care about your platonic affairs." I was like, I wish we just centered the whole movie talking about this now.
Oh, yeah. It was one of my favorite parts of the whole movie because it acknowledged something that I felt very keenly aware of. Everyone probably did, in that, like, hanging out with that blonde bombshell, and it's so obviously being a relationship of deep intimacy.
It's his work wife.
And it makes sense to me, at least in my relationships to men, how very often men who consider themselves smarter than the rest of the room have emotional affairs with women and think they're getting away with it.
And just think that, like, as long as you're not sexual.
Yeah. I can call her poor Sarah and not see her for months and leave her with the children, and I will be your protector.
Oh, how are those tiny little idiots that I seated? Like, he straight up, his care about his children is not really there.
He's living the dream life. Gotta tell you guys.
He's loving it.
He's an Albany man.
And I agree with something you said, Mike, which is like, I wish that the movie had maybe given a little bit more oxygen to this idea of these platonic affairs, because we see a lot of, like, we see one scene in particular where he runs off to go comfort Marion Davies, and poor Sarah clearly like gives him the like go ahead. I feel bad calling her poor Sarah. Sarah gives him like the go ahead, but I would like more inspection of the fact that she knows what's going on. She is aggrieved by what's going on. She thinks about listing it in a list of her grievances, because she says this, like, when she's about to do it, she says, "Okay, I've like been preparing this." So it would be nice to see that examined a little bit more, because that seems like a really interesting idea. He doesn't step out on her. You can tell all these relationships with these women, they're emotionally fraught. They're emotionally very deep, rather, but they never seem like they're going to veer into the sexual. At least I feel like right away he does a good job of laying the groundwork.
He always pukes right before it cuts. And that's how you know he's a good guy.
But unfortunately, for every line that the movie has of like, you can't tell a man's story in 2 hours. You can only like leave an impression, or movies are the greatest grift because you just leave people with a memory and then you get to take your thing back. For every line like that, there's 2 lines of Mank saying, "Why do you love me?" And then what that does is open up the question for us as well. We don't know, dude. No. We do not know, and this movie does not have the time to explain it.
For a movie that jumps around in time so much, I would love to get, at some point,
their first date or something.
And Mank just truly having a good time. What is their version of looking at giraffes and yucking it up?
I know why she loves him, because when he was they're the same age, even though they don't look it, and because is
it 50 years difference?
When they went
actors?
to parties when they went to parties when they were 20, he ran the room and everybody wanted to hear what he had to say and everybody wanted to just be next to him because he made everything so amazing. And that felt really good. And then she actually met the man behind that nobody even really knows.
The man behind the Mank?
The Mank behind that, who nobody even really knows except for her. So, like, you know, you get the hook sets young, and then from that point forward, you just get propelled along, you know, that initial...
And then you get knocked up.
Yeah.
And you get up again.
I get knocked up.
She's definitely a tub thumper, for sure.
Yeah, because he's tubby.
But, do you guys remember when this movie was, like, coming out? Everyone said, like, this is like a boys club movie. Like, this is just a movie for dudes and a dude's night. Do you feel like it lived up to that reputation? Because it like, how do women do in this movie, would you say?
Was it TNT or TBS or maybe even Spike that had a thing that was called Movies for Dudes Who Like Movies?
Yeah.
And they would just play like Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone every Thursday night. Dudes love them some movies, don't they?
Especially if they're about dudes.
Well, I think here's what's wrong with Fincher, right? Is I do think he makes nuanced stories, but dudes, if we're calling dudes just fucking dudes, are so dumb that they lose the nuance. Dudes don't watch Fight Club and go, oh no, should I think Tyler Durden's wrong? They don't watch Social Network and go, is $1 billion really that cool? They just go, $1 billion is that cool.
Social Network is a good one. And then also Zodiac is one too. Because it's not that he wants people to think that they're Zodiac. He wants people to understand that your
astrology rules.
Your manly obsession with trying to like take down a serial killer is going to ruin your fucking life.
Right.
It's always there. Girl with the dragon tattoo.
Well, his movies are all about obsession.
But I do think it's how masculinity is.
Yes.
If masculinity like bleeds in with your obsession, then that is ultimately what will ruin you. Like your fucking punk rock attitude, you should grow out of, and if you don't, you look like an idiot. But then he makes them look super cool.
Because he is. Yeah, I would love to know if he knows how much of his protagonists he is, because he is also obsessed with masculinity.
I like to think of David Fincher and Chuck Palahniuk.
Paula Nick. I think it's Paula
Chucky
Nick.
P, baby.
Chucky P. I like to think of Fincher's son and Chucky P in a Starbucks having a coffee, being like, "What did we do with Fight Club? Holy, what the fuck did we?
Yeah.
What have we brought?"
When I've heard a lot of people asking about like one of the weird things about the Capitol, which is that people were like some of the guys were just wearing like skins, like animal skins, and I heard a lot of explanations for it, but none of the explanations tapped on Fight Club, where Tyler Durden says we will wear the skins of deers that we like, the deer that we have tanned on the highway. Like I think that even that kind of thought of like people dressed like that goes back to Fight Club. So like we really do live in a world that Fincher helped to create, and it's innocuous in a movie like Mank, but it's pretty upfront in a movie like Fight Club, and we still feel. I mean, people are saying about that woman that got shot, her name is Ashley, whatever her name is, and repeating it in the same.
Her name is Ashley, whatever her name is.
Did 1999 those films? Did they just ruin America?
Oh, absolutely.
I wouldn't remember. I was 4.
God damn, you're young.
We all were 4, okay? Everybody was the same age.
We were
then.
all 4 then.
All of America was 4.
If you smash Fight Club, American Beauty, and The Matrix together, you get what happened last week as we're recording this.
You get every man I've ever dated.
But I do think, though, that like Zodiac and Girl with the Dragon Tattoo and Gone Girl is not a movie that we mentioned, but that's
Gone
just
Girl
about how,
rules.
like, what do you
Gone
think?
Girl
You're a
rules.
fucking
Point to
well-to-do, handsome white person? Look at the fucking piece of shit that even when you don't murder your wife, you're a piece of shit white person, white dude. All of these movies are subtly, unsubtly, like trying to like apologize for Fight Club. I really think that they are.
Gone Girl especially.
But I think that the way that we have acknowledged that sometimes he loses track of his own tone.
And thinks they're cool. And, yeah.
He doesn't. That's why he keeps going back to it, because he actually hasn't resolved it in himself.
One day I will resolve. But until then, I'm going to make cool-ass
To
movies,
defend
bro.
Fincher in a way that I never have, because I normally just like to shit on him for this. The people he makes movies about wouldn't be as powerful in their worlds if you didn't see why everybody fell in love with him. So him falling in love with them is part of his argument.
Yeah, because, yes. Yeah, you have
That's
to
the
deal with the
smartest thing
fact.
I've ever fucking said.
Yeah, I
And
would
it
give that
didn't
one
even
of
get a
mine as well.
point.
No, he reminded me to give him one.
Mike has to
You just have to
remind
throw
the
your
host.
arms above your head after you say something.
But yeah, it's that confusion of why do I love this person? Should I hate this person? That I think that's what he wallows in. You know, that's what he finds so interesting is I'm so intrigued to the point of love, to the point of I think they're cool. Wait, what the fuck does that say about me? That's basically all his movies.
Yeah, I think that it's an exploration of his own perspective. And for me, that's one of the reasons that I really didn't like this movie. And it shocks me. I love old Hollywood. I love Fincher. Sign me up for a blonde bombshell any day of the week. But when I watch it, I think about the Brooklyn film boys I've known and the way that they have spent their careers digesting their own experiences and thinking that they're subverting something when they're not. And I don't think he successfully. Yeah, I'm going to give myself a fucking point for that one. Yeah, so I've been hearing what you guys have been saying, and it is compelling, and I see the movie's merit, but I don't think Fincher is as self-aware as he pretends to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible because all Fincher has spent his career since Fight Club doing is trying to get away from these Brooklyn film boys, but he can't not still want to entice them. Like he still wants to be like, but I still want them to like this. Like if they
What
think
is it
that
about fuck boys, man? This is crazy.
Yeah.
We're at real crisis in America right now.
Playing to your base.
I think it really is that.
I think that I think I've let this one go on too long because I was into the conversation. So let's.
Yeah, you can't get interested in what we're saying.
Yeah, that's the problem. I was
Bad
too checked in.
hosting.
So let's take another break, and we'll be back for speed round. Alrighty, are we ready for speed round?
So ready?
Let's do it.
Excellent. Okay, I'm going to pop these off as fast as I can say them. You guys give me the answers, and I'll tell you if they're right. All right. Is this the best Orson Welles impression of all time?
Yes.
No, it's Maurice LaMarche who did the Bird's Eye Pea commercial in Animaniacs and Tiny Toon Adventures.
No,
That's the best Orson Welles
No,
impression.
Ryan.
come on. This is the best. The sound of this guy's impression is the best sound I've ever heard in my entire life.
My wife thought they edited in Orson Welles in the beginning of this movie. So
And they did at one point.
Greg and Mike did it well. Okay. Is this the best movie featuring an actor who played a main character on the Netflix show Iron Fist?
Wait, yes. What?
absolutely
Say
it
the
is.
question again?
Excellent. Okay, we're going to give
It's
Ryan, we're going to give Mike
it's
a point.
Iron
Ward
Fist's
Meacham.
stepbrother, Ward Meacham.
Oh,
he's in
yeah.
this
Oh,
movie,
my
and he's
God.
excellent.
Best part.
As he always
Okay.
is.
What's your dope last name nickname?
Greg,
Greg.
the Heinster.
I thought it was Greg.
Mike
Graves.
I don't think that's cool.
You don't think
Ryan.
That's cool?
Ryan.
That's pretty fucking awesome.
Jank.
Cool.
Really? That was cool?
I thought that one was cool.
Oh, I never know.
I like the Heine.
Okay, what old-timey person should Beekman from Beekman's World have played?
Bill Nye, the science guy.
No, so Bill Nye played Upton Sinclair. That means
Oh, okay.
Beekman from Beekman's World should have played Cesar Chavez?
Okay, but here, how about this? I got one better than that. Hearst should have been played by Beaker from the Muppets.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, right?
And then
Greg-
who's
Greg
Bunsen? Miriam?
Which of you will put tassels on your nipples and call me be topless for the rest of the show?
Mike.
It's clearly Mike.
Yeah.
Clearly
Excellent,
Mike.
Mike.
That's
I'm
my
gonna
deal.
Give you I'm going to give you 2 points for those pretty little titties.
Every time somebody says, Mike, what's your deal? He's like, oh, I put tassels on my nipples and type for people.
Why does poor Sarah love Mank?
I don't know.
I think it's because he charmed her when she was a young lady, and he seemed so powerful and knowledgeable and worldly. And then
That's
before
why I
she
love
knew it,
Greg.
she'd been betrayed by her
It's-
own emotions.
Yeah.
It's a combination. He can run the room and be clever and quippy, but he can also be like, and here's why I'm fucked up. He uses honesty as an additional weapon. It's not just that he can charm her. That's part of the charm is like, here's how fucked up I am. That will totally ruin a girl in her 20s.
Also,
You
you
guys
have to be smart enough to get his humor, and so a lot of people don't even know what his jokes mean. And I think so. If you get someone like that, like Sarah gets him, then it feels like being part of like an exclusive club.
This is just Greg describing Greg, and it's crazy.
I love you three men explaining this phenomena to me as if I'm not the
You
one
asked
with
us to.
primary
Wait, time out.
experience.
Kate, why does Sarah like Mank?
He got big dick.
You got that Mank?
He got that big dick. Would you or your SO be as cool as poor Sarah when talking about the platonic affairs?
No.
Mike, you were right.
I know me.
Yeah. Do you ever wish things were still black and white like back then?
Greg,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
it's not
because
trivia,
so,
Greg.
It's so clear. I just like saying my name. It makes me feel comfortable, Ryan. I'm self-soothing.
I love The Color Purple, and people.
It's a good movie. Prince is
fine.
weird.
The
Yeah,
movie's
he's fine in it. Yeah.
But I like The Color Purple, and I think if things were black and white, it wouldn't be so controversial.
Prince was not in The Color Purple, so I just created in my mind the movie The Color Purple Rain,
Kate,
where Prince comes in.
Point for
Kate,
Ryan.
do you
handles
know
all the
which one
slavery.
of us has read The Color Purple?
I'm going to guess Mike.
Mike,
Oh,
have you read The Color
thank
Purple?
you.
Nope.
Greg, did
It's
you
me.
read The Color
It's me.
Purple?
I read The Color Purple, Kate.
Everyone loves this guy.
Greg, I'm not going to give you a point for that one.
Kate, here's my card. It has my Goodreads on it, so please check that out.
Last question. How many times has your brain screamed Mank since its Netflix release?
18,001.
Billions.
2001?
Billions.
Yeah, I think any answer more than 7 is good.
Were you guys surprised not to see Tony Shalhoub in this movie?
And just like, I need to wash my hands.
Okie dokie. So that was a little bit of a dirge-like speed round.
That's actually way faster than we normally do.
They normally go into full-blown segments.
Okay, good. I'm glad I cut you guys off at the knees.
You're the best to ever do that. By a lot.
Okay, are we ready to move into the next segment after this break?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to come back in a moment. And the moment we've all been waiting for, it's time to hand out some awards.
Woo!
Let's start with the oldest old shit. This movie evokes the incredibly distinct look and feel of Citizen Kane. What do you consider the best use of its tropes, imagery, and stylization?
Who's going first?
I will go first. Thanks, Ryan. Here's what I'm going to go with. When we think of Citizen Kane, we think of the camera being like unmoored and finally moving around. And I felt like one of the most sort of like attention grabbing shots in the movie is when Hearst is like in that moving carriage, like that they're doing the dolly shot with, and Mank walks next to him. And so like they're kind of still as the camera moves backwards in relation to the camera. They're not moving, but you can still see that movement. And I felt like although there's not a shot like that necessarily is in Citizen Kane, I felt like the spirit behind it is imbued with like that sort of mobile camera feeling from Citizen Kane.
I like that too because you get the feeling that Hearst would have just had that without the camera. Like,
yeah.
They're like, oh, can we hop on the train you made yourself?
It's like
Yeah.
his litter. Yeah. It's like he's like a king. And so he literally Mank literally has to look up at him. And
to get to be able to like sit on that train with him is such an that's such rich dude shit. It's like sit next to me on my wild backyard
As
train.
he pushes somebody else who used to have earned that
Right.
spot off.
It's kind of like toddler level of pet. The idea of like inviting your friend over to play and being like, you can sit in the side part of it, but this is
Watch
my
me
toy.
play.
And then if you start playing with it too much, I'm going to get a little jealous.
I made a crown of paper that I'm wearing. I may make one for you soon. I don't know yet.
No, he sits next to me at dinner.
Yeah.
Mom.
I think I talked about it earlier, the fade out, where in the olden times they didn't have the technology to actually fade out, so the whole screen turns black at once. So having the screen get different versions of black before all the lights turn off feels so old school.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's weird about that? I thought I was going to go with that one too. So then I watched Citizen Kane. Not many shots in Citizen Kane actually end that way, like where it just gets suddenly dark like that.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them just kind of transition into each other. So that almost feels like from movies of that time, but not necessarily Citizen Kane
Right.
itself.
That's where I didn't think oldie old shit was just for Citizen Kane.
Oh yeah,
So
I didn't mean
where
to. Like,
I mean, you watched Citizen Kane. I watched every movie that came out that year. So that's the prep I did,
Except for Citizen Kane.
except for Citizen Kane.
Well, you were there.
Yes, I'm that old. I'm the oldie old shit.
Ryan.
I have to go with the deep focus, which is not something that he used all the time. Like Orson Welles and Greg Toland, when they shot Citizen Kane, they used it 100% of the time. Everything was going to be in focus.
Mhm.
And Fincher and Greg Memberschmidt, or whoever his camera person was,
Greg
the
the
fucking
Huckster, I
Gregs.
believe.
they didn't do it the entire time, but when they did it, it felt weird and old school, and it made me realize that like it's just like a lost art. Like it may have peaked in the 70s, and then it sort of went away. Where if you're a director, you need to focus on very specific things, or people won't know what you're talking about. And then in this movie, they were like, whoa, what if we showed the whole room? What if we had like a dinner table full of people and we put them all in fucking focus? And it just feels old school, even without the cigarette burns and the black and whiteness.
So like Altman style, where he's moving through everything and everybody's in focus at all times. Is that what that means?
Yeah.
The deep focus, where like there's no fuzziness. You don't know whether you're focused in the background or the foreground.
Exactly, yeah. So rack focus would be like, I'm going to be on this person in the foreground, and then quickly the person in the background who was like blurry is now in focus. So like that quick focus. Instead, everything is in focus the entire time. And that's just like most directors will be like, no, I want you to see their mouth. So therefore, I'm going to not focus on anything else.
And some movies are downright blurry on like the edges because the focus is like so keenly on one area that like everything blurs to the sides.
Right. And I think that like directors get nervous about you're not going to know what to focus on.
Yeah, I agree with all. I think those are all great answers. But Ryan, I'm going to go with yours. I think that was a particularly compelling argument.
Made it sound smart.
Yeah, you sounded super smart. Second award, Hanky Manky, hottest broad. Mike, we're going to start with you. Which one tickled the old pickle?
I don't want to give anything to.
Who did you rub one out to?
I feel already grosser than I was about to feel. Maybe there's something about incredibly pale, incredibly dark hair. British. It's Lily Collins in those high-waisted pants. There's something about Ms. Alexander, man.
It's the prim. You want to know it's underneath.
Is Miss Alexander Emily in Paris?
She might be, which when I looked that up, it made me very sad.
What is she?
Emily in Paris.
Paris.
Paris, yeah, there you go.
I'm sorry. The title is supposed to rhyme.
Like all titles should.
Emless in Paris. Greg, what about you?
I personally, brunette women are my ballywick, and so it takes a lot for a blonde woman to turn my eye. But speaking of eyes, Amanda Seyfried's eyes are so big. She looks like a Lita battle angel.
Life-size Bratz doll.
And in a movie with a lot of stick-thin women, she's not curvy by any means, but Lily, what's her name? Lily Collins is like so waifish. It looks like she has bird bone disease. So I'm going to go with the amazing eyes of Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah, you like BBWs like Amanda.
She must weigh easy a cool 115. She doesn't mind. She wears it well.
Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate eyes as much as anybody else, but also
even as much as me, Ryan.
I would say even more than Greg. But what I also appreciate way more than Greg is the feminine spirit and the independence of Amanda Seyfried. She got that ass, so there's no other answer but Amanda Seyfried. Yeah. Even though at no point in this movie does she type at a typewriter wearing nothing except tassels.
Oh shit!
I am shocked that none of you
forgot
picked
about
that
Tassel Lady. I think I was so confused by her, I couldn't even be turned on. I was just like, what?
I know.
Okay, I'm on a Seyfried diet. I Seyfried, I eat it. So I got to go with that.
So you're saying Seyfried is Roy or the king?
Oh, rest in peace.
Okay, this is hard. This is hard because obviously I think I've already expressed I'm really quite hot for Amanda in this movie, but I do like Mike. I feel like there's a tenderness to choosing something so
wrong,
unappealing to me that there's something boyish in your inability to handle real feminine beauty. So
I've been listening to a lot of half wave, so that's just the direction I'm going.
My wave.
Who said that?
That was great.
Ryan.
Ryan, I'll give you a point.
Get those points, Ryan.
Let's move on to cringiest moment. We're going to start with whoever wants to start, actually.
I'll do it.
No, you should go, Ryan.
Okay, cool.
I got to say, it's the first moment. If I have to pick a specific moment, it's the first time he does not know when somebody is saying, "How is your wife? How is Sarah?" I'm sorry, what? Oh, do you mean poor Sarah, the nickname that she hates? And then going to the point where this pretty flat character, and I'm not talking about curviness, I'm just talking about she does not have a lot of three-dimensionality to her, has to say, "Do not call me poor Sarah again. If you're going to fucking release this script about Hearst, then the least you could do is not call me poor Sarah again. His treatment of his wife is his least sexual or platonic affair that he has. And that was the cringiest to me.
One of the many things I really don't like about the poor Sarah thread is early on when Lily Collins slips up and accidentally says poor Sarah. He knows she hates it. And so he's like, cut it. No, don't say that. And so what he's doing is making her the joke that everyone else is in on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the worst.
Ugh. Yeah, it's awful.
But that's why I think Ryan's award is bunk, because that's baked into the movie.
What's yours?
Mine is the how much Fincher's like, I've heard old Hollywood quotes, okay? So I'm going to put as much as I can in here. Hollywood is the only commodity you can sell without giving them anything. Groucho Marx used to say, I wouldn't be any... Like, he does it so many times. I'm like, we get it, bro. You've heard old Hollywood quotes. Fuck off.
That's a good one.
For me, it's the aforementioned topless stenographer or whatever she was, because like so much of this movie, as a duty dude, when I saw her for the first instant, I was like, hey, I can see that woman's breasts, and I think that's pretty cool.
Hello.
And to like, so it makes you very quickly go on this journey where you're titillated and then kind of like grossed out by yourself. And I think that like that moment, like the cringe is deep inside yourself when you realize
they do put that like new to Hollywood screenwriter there to be like, what's happening right here?
I think that's a really great answer, Greg, because I think it's very self-reflective, and I think it kind of holds you accountable to your position as voyeur. So just out of respect for your own awareness, I'm going to give you that.
Heck yeah.
Next one, director's signature. Mike.
There wasn't a lot of what I think of like Fincher shots in here, at least not that I captured this time. So I do think he is obsessed with the tortured white dude. Like we talked about. Tortured white dude who's in power, but still isn't happy for some reason, gosh darn it. And he just does not get away from that ever. Even in Gone Girl, which is probably like his wokest movie, it's still really about Affleck and how afflicted he is.
Afflicted is afflicted?
It's also kind of about Outback Steakhouse.
I don't know about you, but everything's about Outback Steakhouse over here, baby.
Guys, I miss Outback.
If this quarantine was just 9 months, then nobody would miss Outback. But once we hit the 10th month, we want those bloomin' onions so bad.
Outback about every 10 months. Bloomin' onion. Their Long Island's for some reason really popping away. Others people's don't.
Them kangaroo steaks.
Should we do a movie of the year about Outback?
Yeah,
I would love it.
Yeah, 1 point to Outback Steakhouse.
I'll go with my signature move. When Ryan and I went to see the Fincher movie that directly followed Fight Club, which was called Panic Room, we left the theater both very underwhelmed. And I said, I'll tell you this much. That movie had 3D credits, and I bet that's the first time I've ever seen that, and I bet that becomes a big thing. And there were 3D credits in this movie, and there are 3D credits in so many different productions now, where the credits, actually like are like he put into the scenery or something like that. Fincher made that up in the movie Panic Room, which is the only thing anybody will ever remember the movie Panic Room for.
Like Third Dimension?
I didn't know that.
There's like a Jodie Foster. The words are like on the lawn of a park. It looks like you could go by and like kick the R off the end of her letter or name.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly right. Yeah, it's like you can go and walk around the word. And if you look at this in the beginning, like when it says Mank does not go across the screen in like what the X dimension. It goes back into it in more like the Z dimension. So like it feels like the characters could actually walk around the letters.
Got it.
I really want to disagree with Mike, but I think I'm going to have to go with sort of his, which is David Fincher's, and what I really want to do is like his camera placement, because I really do think that he is one of the best visual filmmakers of our time. He just lacks like the PTA sort of like, I also have clear visions of what my movie will be at the end of it.
I know.
And so it's,
I can say what this is about.
I think it's the whole, I am going to challenge what we think about white, straight, male protagonists. But instead of making it hard because I'm a really subtle filmmaker, he makes it hard because, shit, I love this guy. I love him too, and you should. No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. You know you should. And
I get his whole deal.
And I do sort of think that happens throughout the course of the filmmaking.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, to me, Fincher and Anderson are obviously in conversation constantly. And I love Paul Thomas Anderson. I think he is one of the best depictors of masculinity in the male experience. I think he does such a good job at it. He doesn't make it alienating, and he doesn't make it mundane or boring. And there, for me, seems to be a lot more control in those movies of that idea. So I'm going to give that point to both Mike and Ryan, because
I think with that, Kate, just I know you're hosting, but like you said, a thing that made me think is P.T. Anderson doesn't fall in love with Marky Wahlberg and Boogie Nights or
Tom Cruise.
Blood. Yeah, he doesn't fall in love with the whole time he's like, see how gross they are, so it doesn't change it. Where Fincher's like, oh goddamn.
That's the thing, is that you can have auteurs and you can have male directors telling male stories.
Thank you.
But Fincher, you're allowed, and that's my call.
Finally.
Yeah, I know. Give you guys a voice. But that is the thing, is that Fincher feels like a film boy. And there are times when he's great. I love Mindhunter. I know that that's like not considered one of his like.
No, Mindhunter rules.
And I think that he does a really good job with Holden, and you know, in showing the ridiculous nature of him and the weaknesses that you can see in a lot of white masculinity in America. It feels very, again, very aware, and he feels like he has very tight control over that story. So I find a lot of Fincher's Tyler Durden.
But if you look at PTA, I think the two ones to go with are the two DDLs, because there are points in There Will Be Blood and Phantom Thread where you're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm a man. This is a man. I fucking love this guy. And then not reflecting 2 weeks later, but by the end of the movie, you're like, oh my God, who am I as a person, and how have I treated other people?
Yeah.
Right.
Should I not be bashing people's heads in with bowling pins?
Oh shit, was that a boo-boo?
Was that too much?
Yeah.
You know, I got very masculine there.
Yeah.
Feeling very masked today, guys. Sorry.
Okie dokie. Let's move on to our final, which is best pound for pound performance. Greg, let's start with you. Or Ryan, Greg.
Let's go with me. I think it feels good. You know, it's always so hard to just say the main character, but I don't know if this is one of Gary Oldman's best performances, but there's a lot to do here and a lot that you have to sort of hold in reserve to play Mank. I think you have to be willing to risk your jokes not landing for the audience, and for them to always be kind of like a step behind you. And I think that he gave Fincher exactly what Fincher wanted, which was the approaching complicated picture of a complicated man, but instead a very celebratory picture of a sort of complicated man. But yeah, I'm going with Geo, Gary Oldman.
Ryan.
I don't know. Gary Oldman puts me off. I don't know if it's the fact that he got accused of Me Tooing and then nothing ever happened from that. Hardcore. Or if it's just that I'm tired of him in these roles, and he coasts through these roles, which is that should be an accolade, right? Like I don't think of this as, you know, the guy from The Professional or from The Darkest Hour or from True Romance, but still, like, just slobber. It has to be Amanda Seyfried. I think that she is an unstoppable force of nature that steals every scene that she's in. I definitely forget that she's there, and also rescuing Marion Davies from the Citizen Kane-like coffin that the person she's portraying is in. It's got to be Amanda Seyfried.
Mike.
See, I think that he goes through is the compliment you don't want to give, man. The old man, what he does here is, if Fincher loses sight that you shouldn't fall in love with Mank, I don't think old man ever does. the whole time. When he does something very charming, there's like a quick flash in his eyes or a quiver in his lip that he knows how fucking gross and shitty he is, that he manipulated the room in a shitty way. Like, he is subtle and always, he's never a happy character even when he's crushing it. He's just always playing the role of Mank. He thinks people...
There are split seconds when he's happy. Like when he thinks he took all the bullets away from that guy. He really does think, I fucking saved the day.
Right. That might be the one time. But every other time...
What I figured out was that you don't even need the gun if you have the bullets. Here you go, lady.
For a guy like Mank, the worst thing that you can do is like experience happiness for 1 second, because I promise you fucked it up, bro. And yeah, the opposite of happiness is about to come down.
Yeah.
I think he's just always doing so many things at once throughout this movie. I think it'd be very cool and very hip to say it's not Gary Oldman.
It is not Gary Oldman. It is 100% Amanda Seyfried.
I think you guys both have excellent points. Mike, I absolutely agree. And I think that and I know that Greg also said that Gary Oldman's
but I'm disagreeing with
But
Greg.
I don't like the way he says it.
Yes.
Fair enough.
No, I absolutely agree with you that the thing that sells it to me is that Gary Oldman knows that character.
Yeah, I think
I'm sure he has a tendency to be the smartest guy in the room. He's charming and he's performative. Like, I think that he probably identifies a lot with that character, and I think that it shows because his thing is I'm aware, I'm observing, I'm outside. That's the whole appeal of being a screenwriter and being the funny critic inside of a room, is that you have removed yourself from a situation. So you know when you're performing. And there is an element of disgust, I believe, that you'd have with yourself. So I think that's a really well-made
That's
point.
what Irving says to him, right? Like, I come to work and I give my best every day, and I don't keep myself above everything, and I don't act like I'm slumming it.
Yeah.
Those are all the things Mank does to keep himself out of having to, like, really face himself.
Yeah.
That was the most I felt like I was Mankish, was when Irving told him, I don't do those things, and I went, oh, no.
No, I know. Me too. That's the thing. You have to understand that the problem is that deep down I am a Brooklyn film boy, and all I can do is hate what I see. But Ryan, I do agree with you. She is so magnetic whenever she's on screen, and even with that kind of like heavy fake Brooklyn accent and nerds and all that shit. I think
nerds. I can't believe we didn't talk about nerds.
I didn't talk about nerds at all. I think that one of the scenes for me that really was so brief, but I thought she did such a good job, was when she made her exit and Gary Oldman is asking her to go back in, and her just saying, "Don't make me. I'm gonna sound. I'm not gonna do it. Sound stupid. Yeah, I'm not gonna. I've made my exit." And it's like just a small. It feels so real. It feels like they're friends. It feels like she knows she's being a little ridiculous, but she's also not going to do it.
And this is the life, baby. And like, I can't think of another performance that like sort of created 2 stars. Like, I will always, because of Mank, I will for sure know that Amanda Seyfried is a fucking star. And I will always think that Marion Davies was a star.
Yeah.
You know, like she handled both of those things with this movie.
Yeah.
And a genius. Obviously, she's extremely intelligent.
Yeah.
Because like that's she had to be to play every side in exactly the way,
but
she
not like
to.
Switch personalities. Just slightly bring up one wall and slightly lower another wall in every scene that she's in.
Yeah,
but dude, Seyfried from Mean Girls to First Reformed to this, she is. If she's not winning every Oscar in a couple years, the world is fucking stupid.
That's not exactly how it works, though, Mike. I mean, there's going to be some she's not eligible for.
No, all of them.
No, every Oscar. I want her to win Best Boy.
So, like, production design, you want her to win for that? Like,
production design for making your beautiful eyes.
For your eyes being so big, it's confusing.
That should go to the parents.
You're right. And she'll say that in the speech. Ryan, you're going to get that point. Good job.
Thank you.
So I think that wraps it up. So let's take a quick break, and when we're back, we're going to announce the winner. Welcome back. We are going to announce the winner.
Why do you seem sad? Are you okay?
I'm solemn.
Oh, because it's so important.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm respecting the moment, kind of giving it the gravity it deserves.
I feel like I came in last, you guys, and I feel bad.
You always feel that way, Greg. But
I'm sorry, Ryan. I'm going to have to take a point away from you for kind of disrupting the tone that I was setting as the host to kind of do.
I think that I scored the most amount of points, but I also think that I lost the most amount of points. So I came in last for sure.
I middle of the roaded it like I always do, which makes me feel pretty hopeful.
Just pisses guys like me and Greg off because Mike, by sucking not a ton, just wins all the time.
Well, okay, so third place with 19 points, Mr. Greg Gorilla.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Second.
Sorry, everyone.
It is. You could have done better.
I should have watched the movie harder.
If you had Amanda's eyes, maybe you could have.
I was lost in them. That's the problem.
I know, swimming.
I have the same eyes, Greg. You handled me okay.
Second place is with 20 points, Ryan.
Oh, come the fuck on.
Which means Mike comes sweeping in with 23. I'm surprised. I'm as surprised as the rest of you.
That's shocking.
Affability wins points, guys.
I seem like the village idiot.
You do.
So, Kate, this did not go well. And this will be your last show.
Sorry, it didn't work out better, Kate. That's a shame.
There's also 1 point for me and
1 point for what
I think another point for Outback Steakhouse.
Oh, Outback Steakhouse.
And then 1 point for Outback Steakhouse.
Which I think is the first brand to get a point.
Kate, are you cool with you and I being best friends now?
I know.
Pretty exciting.
Well, we went kind of band of brothers through the whole loopback fiasco.
Do you guys mean like Oasis? Isn't that a band of brothers?
Yeah, she's Ross Geller. I'm the dude from Office Space. We're in the band of brothers.
She's just Gallagher.
How about
she
this,
just
Ross
smashes
Geller?
Watermelons.
This is for you, fucking Ross Geller. You like that? You like that? Choke on that, Ross Geller.
Here we go.
That's really good for a
listeners,
podcast.
I'm doing stuff with my hands.
Yeah, that's a really good
Hold on, let me
visual
describe
joke.
it.
Greg is great at hand stuff.
Would you please tell high school? Wait, not current high. I'm
Let
gonna
me take that one back to the workshop and tinker around with it for a minute.
Greg has to go to his neighborhood high schools and tell him how good he is at hand stuff. Every time he moves.
Yeah. If you work it into a fun, like, welcome rap, do you think they let you do that? Like, I've been known as a party offender. I have to let you know I'm a sexual offender.
As long as you do the perfect job of trying to plug your iPod Nano in to the computer that they have, but it doesn't. Wait, hold on. It doesn't work. Hold on. It doesn't. Okay, there's the
Do you
beat.
have USB 3?
Yeah.
I'm a super fun guy. I'm very cool. I can't go within 500 feet of the nearest school.
And then you sprint
You're
out of the
good
room.
at these, Greg. I'm going to give you another point.
It's too late, Kate. It's over. I already lost. My parents are going to find out and they're going to freak.
My name is Greg, and
Yeah.
I'm here to say here's a lot of forums that you should read about me moving into your neighborhood because it's dangerous for your children.
I mean, I guess if we're going to do some raps, then perhaps we kind of lock into you guys talking about your websites. And do you have any raps ready to go for yourpopfilter.com or patreon.com/yourpopfilter, or maybe even yourpopfilter.com/Amazon?
Nope.
I think you just did that. You did the ad.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Yeah. No, I covered that one for you guys.
Seamless, too. They're not even going to know
Yeah,
they heard
thanks.
an ad. Idiots. They're just lapping it up like dum-dums. I think this is part of the regular show. It's not. We're advertising to you right now, idiots.
Okay. You guys want to talk about your other shows?
Yes. I
Cool,
thought
Mike,
somebody
go
else would
for
jump in. Superhero show. If you're like, this is what are you making that face for, Ryan?
Why would somebody else jump in if you? She said, "Do you want to tell me about your other shows?" And you said yes. You thought
I don't know how
Jumped in.
improv
You
works.
said yes.
I say yes, and you say end.
we would never interrupt each other on this show.
That's not a
one
thing
of
we
our
do,
sacred
bro.
Promises.
Yeah, go to the Superhero show, rate, review, subscribe, listen to it if you want to hear a different woman berate Ryan and I. That's what that show's all about.
Is this?
We
the
did
end?
it. Yeah, we did a really
100
good
shows.
job.
You guys did a really good job.
You did a great job.
Do we think that this movie has a chance? If we did a 2020 bracket, do you think it has what it would take to take down movies like The Five Bloods and The Sound of Metal?
Honestly, there are movies that we've done so far. This is just like we haven't even entered
Way
the
back.
season yet, right? Like we're just
Yeah.
doing
Emma.
these extra episodes.
Noodling.
But even based on us being like, it was good, I think we moved ourselves up to it was good
Yes.
plus.
It elevated my esteem of this movie, talking to you three intelligent folks.
I could see this making the Elite Eight for reals. And maybe that's because we're movie nerds. Maybe that's because we just back up whatever straight white male protagonists do in a movie.
Hell
But-
yeah.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for such a good opportunity to be like, I'm wrong. But I
supported anything else he said.
think it has a chance to make the Elite Eight and then get fucking decimated.
Yeah, it's gonna. Yeah, that's yeah. Its fate is to get absolutely eradicated by a much better movie.
Yeah, because if you remember, Birds of Prey also came out this year. So fuck you, Mike.
Oh, also,
Birds of Prey. Finally, a movie about women.
I think Birds of Prey or
Finally.
the emancipation of one Harley Quinn. I do think will make the Elite Eight as well. I have talked to Mike and Greg, my two good friends.
It's a good movie, Ryan. It's a good movie.
I'm pretty sure that piece of shit will make the Elite Eight.
Look,
I am
it's a good
fired up
movie
on Mountain
regardless if I have at least one of the characters tattooed on my body.
Here's the thing. I think that Harley Quinn will make the comedy bracket. The Elite, or like, I think that it will go far in the comedy bracket. I don't think the movie's making the movie bracket. Can we just have one Harley Quinn in these brackets, please?
No.
All right.
Shut
Can
up.
we have one Harley Quinn in my bed? I want to thank you guys so much for letting me try hosting this.
Hey, thanks a lot.
It was a really, really fun time. It was a very cool opportunity.
Kate, where can we find you?
Huh?
Where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at kate.dellis.funny.kind. You can find me on Twitter at Kate_Dellis. I am inactive on both currently because I watched the Netflix documentary, The Social Dilemma. But I will be back eventually when I'm scared
forget
that
about the
people
movie.
have forgotten me.
Yeah, you're gonna miss a bunch of my tweets. Every day that's like
Dude,
several
I
tweets.
know. I know.
Are you sure you're okay with not being up to how Greg and his cats are doing?
Just one
You know-
cat, you dickhead.
Oh, I'm
you know
so
my other
sorry.
cat died, you
I'm
jerk.
so sorry. Rest in
I
peace.
also want to plug an impending project under the Pop Filter family umbrella.
Hell yeah.
You know the way that families share one.
Everybody gets a little wet.
It's a very big one, and lots of little families.
And not that
A
way.
lot of little family. Sort of gathered
Dry
in an umbrella.
family.
Yeah. I would like to plug Movie of the Genre coming soon to theaters near you. It's going to be hosted by myself and our dear
Sounds
friend
good.
Tompkins.
Sounds bad.
Oh, sounds less good.
Yeah. It's going to be all about revisionist westerns this season. And I think it's going to be
cool.
really good and really interesting. And we're going to have some great people on. So look out for that because it'll
Your
be good.
show's not going to become more popular than our show, is it? That would be awkward.
We'll see.
It's same umbrella, Greg. It all counts.
We're just one of the tiny little families huddling under this umbrella.
All umbrellas rise.
Okie dokie. Do we do any goodbyes?
Yeah, just say goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody.